Alright guys, we have now made it to the November international break, and I thought now would be a timely point to have a look at the Bookies' updated end of season predictions. So as we like to during each international break, I've accumulated a table of how the Bookies see the Championship ending this season based on their promotion and relegation odds for each Championship club. We're also going to be comparing each team's position in this table with where they were during the last international break as well. 350 likes would be massively appreciated, but without any further ado, let's jump in. Starting out at the bottom of the table, the Bookies do have Portsmouth as the most likely side to be relegated. They've not changed Pompey whatsoever in this table from the last international break, which was back in October. With promotion odds of 1,000 to 1 and relegation odds of 1 to 2, the Bookies still have Pompey down as the most likely side to be relegated come the end of the season. Now, to be fair to John Mousinho's side, they have started to pick up a little bit coming into this international break. They had that good win against Preston North End 3-1 at Fratton Park, their first home win of the season before going into this break, and between the October international break and this one we're now in November, Portsmouth have been averaging over 1 point per game. They've picked up 7 points in their last 6 Championship matches, so we've got a bit more of a competitive edge about them, but the Bookies still think they've got a lot to do. Coming in 23rd on this Bookies table, the Bookies then have Plymouth Argyle. They've actually fallen by 1 place compared to where they were in this table during the last international break. Promotion odds of 750 to 1, relegation odds of 8 to 13 as of recording. Now for Plymouth in real life, they occupy a spot in 18th in the Championship. They've just been so Jekyll and Hyde really throughout the season, haven't they, with how good they've been at picking up points at home compared to their contrasting form on the road. But it was a point for them away from home before this most recent international break. I honestly think the bottom 8 or so clubs in the Championship are so hard to call this season because it's so congested, this part of the table in real life. The Bookies still has Plymouth to go down. I think they'll be in that scrap this season, but like the next few clubs we're going to discuss, I think it's very hard to say for definite who's going to go down in the Championship right now, which does make for an interesting relegation battle. Coming in 22nd on this Bookies table, we do have Queen's Park Rangers. For the first time this season, they have fallen into the bottom 3 based on the Bookies' end of season relegation odds. They've got relegation odds right now of 11 to 10, and it's really not been a great run of form for Marty Cifuentes' side. In real life, they're rooted to the bottom of the Championship. They've picked up the joint fewest points between the last international break and this international break. During that period as well, they've scored the fewest amount of goals of any Championship club. The problems are really piling up there. Don't get me wrong, they have had a tough run of fixtures recently, but 3 points from their last 6 matches between those 2 international breaks is really worrying. Going in 21st place, the Bookies then have Oxford United. They are outside of the bottom 3, both in real life and for the Bookies' end of season predictions, but it's very close in and around this region of the table. They've got relegation odds of 13 to 8 right now, and they have fallen 1 place in this table from the last international break. As of recording and in real life, they're 2 points away from the bottom 3. Like we were mentioning when we were discussing Plymouth before, it's just so congested in this region of the table. Injuries have certainly hampered Oxford of late, like they have been with a few clubs in and around the bottom 3. It's just going to be so close at this stage of the table at the end of the year, isn't it? Coming in 20th place, we've then got my club, Preston North End. We've also fallen by 1 place in this overall table, now predicted to finish in 20th by the Bookies, and I have to admit, it's not been a great few weeks from a Preston North End perspective. The amount of goals we've been conceding of late is a real red flag. We've now conceded 23 in our 15 matches we've had so far this season. 3 goals we conceded in that game just before the international break against Portsmouth, where we were absolutely cut apart. And for as competitive as we have been on the most part at Deepdale so far this season, away form is starting to become a real issue for Paul Heckingbottom's men, and that's going to be something that we have to address coming out of this international break. Coming in 19th place, we then have Cardiff City. Now, Cardiff do occupy a spot in the bottom 3 in real life right now, but they're joint on points with the likes of Luton, Preston and Hull, who are all on 15 as well. And Cardiff have actually moved up 4 places in this overall table from the last international break. A little bit of a stumble they've had, obviously, coming into this international break, having lost back-to-back matches, but prior to that, they had a real bounce in terms of results, especially in home games. But as is reflected in the odds right now, they're still very much in this relegation scrap. As are Hull City, who the bookies have down in 18th place. They've got promotion odds of 80 to 1, relegation odds of 9 to 2 right now, and Hull are actually the biggest fallers of any side compared to their position in this table during the last international break compared to where they are now. They've fallen 8 places from last time, and that's largely a result of their recent form, which has been pretty shambolic. Between the last international break and this one, Hull have only picked up 3 points from their last 6 matches. They've only scored 4 goals in that time, and I think there are, quite rightly, a lot of disgruntled Hull City fans right now who aren't sure what the direction is that the club is going in right now. It was a calculated gamble to bring in someone like Tim Walter in pre-season, replacing Liam Rossini, and so far, based on the evidence that we've seen of Hull City, that gamble's not paid off. Filming in 17th place, we've then got Derby County, who have actually moved up 1 place in this table compared to where they were during the last international break. They're up in 17th right now with relegation odds of 9 to 1. I just think Derby, under Paul Warne, have been a very solid, generally speaking, quite tough to beat outfit so far this season. Of their last 6 matches between the last international break and this one, they've only lost 1 game, but they have had 4 draws in their last 6. A similar sort of story with Stoke City as well. They've also been bumped up 1 place in this table by the bookies. They're now predicted to finish in 16th come the end of the season based on their promotion and relegation odds. Their last 6 matches have been pretty solid. They've only lost 1 of their last 6 between the last international break and this one. Starting to see a bit more of a pattern of play under Narcis Palach as well about what he wants to get from this Stoke squad long term. Listen, there's still a long way to go from Stoke from now until the end of the season. I can definitely see a scenario where, you know, if a couple of injuries pop up in the key position, they could absolutely find themselves in hot water, but based on recent results, you can't really have too many complaints about them right now. Predicted to finish in 15th place, we've then got Luton Town, who have fallen by 3 places in this table compared to where they were during the last international break, and I mean, if any manager is going to lose their job over this international break, it feels more than likely that that manager will be Rob Edwards, especially coming off the back of a weekend where they were absolutely torn to pieces against Middlesbrough. In real life, they're currently only averaging 1 point per game right now, which is, I mean, barely better than relegation form. They're 10 points off the playoffs as things stand. I wouldn't be surprised if Luton did make that change over this international break, which is a real shame because Edwards has been and done so much for that football club, but the position they currently find themselves in, I'm not sure I can see him turning that around right now. In 14th place, we then got Sheffield Wednesday, who have been bumped up 1 place in this table from the last international break. Obviously, Wednesday fans coming off the back of a tough Steel City derby, losing that game against Sheffield United 1-0. But generally speaking, results have been fairly solid for Wednesday so far this season. They're 15th in the table in real life. 14th is where they're predicted to finish by the bookies. Coming in 13th place, we've got Swansea City, who have been moved up 1 place by the bookies from where they were last time in this table. Promotion odds of 20 to 1, relegation odds of 20 to 1 right now, so literally as slap bang in the middle of the table as you could be. I think that Swansea have proven themselves to be quite a solid, rigid outfit so far this season, albeit they are still missing maybe that little bit of a spark going forward. Don't get me wrong, in recent matches they have got in some really good areas and have started to score a few more goals, but as of recording, they're still the lowest scoring side in the division, and it feels like that lack of goals will probably just give them a little bit of a ceiling where they can't punch through and properly into playoff contention, but they're 11th in the table in real life right now and look like making solid strides forwards perhaps compared to last season. Coming in 12th place, we've then got Norwich City, who have been a quite brutal faller from last time. They've fallen 5 places in this bookies table from the last international break, and considering they've only picked up 3 points in their last 6 matches, you can understand why they've fallen off so sharply. Norwich just enduring this injury crisis right now in a number of key positions, and that really has hit them. They lost over the weekend against Bristol City, their first game at Carrow Road in over a calendar year. Away form's not been particularly great of late. It's amazing how quickly the narrative can shift in the Championship because, I mean, back in October we were speaking about Norwich as definitely one of those sides who are absolutely going to be in the playoff hunt this season. You know, they've got arguably the best player in the league right now in Borja Sainz, but the injuries, recent results that have dropped off have seen them falling down the table quite sharply. Now, 11th in the table, we've got Coventry. They have fallen by 2 places since the October international break, but I mean, after making that brutal decision with Mark Robins, they are a little bit of a wild card right now. As of recording, it is Frank Lampard who is the favourite to land that Sky Blues job. I'm sure that the managerial appointment will be sorted by the time we come out of this international break, and we'll have a bit more clarity about maybe what we can expect from Coventry between now and the end of the season. But it's just been so up and down, and losing such a key figure in Robins, it's tough to say how Coventry will come out of this international break, but they were hotly tipped as one of the promotion favourites at the start of the season. It's not unfolded like that so far. There's still a lot of talent in that squad. It just feels like overall as a club right now, they're a little bit lost. Coming in 10th place, we've then got Blackburn Rovers. They have fallen by 2 places in this Bookies table compared to where they were during the last international break. It was a good win for Blackburn, to be fair, before the international break, beating Cardiff 3-1. But it was quite important that they picked up a result in that game, especially having lost the last 3 consecutive matches coming into that fixture. But really good away performance, and typically it has been in their away matches where they have struggled so far this season. So that will give them some confidence, you'd imagine, coming out of this international break where they do have a few tough games on the horizon. 9th place, we've got Bristol City, who have been one of the biggest climbers in this table from last time. They've been bumped up 4 places by the bookies from the last international break, now up in 9th place with promotion odds of 16-1. Now, between the last international break and this one, they've been picking up points on a really regular basis. They picked up 11 points from their last 6 matches, so just shy of 2 points per game in that sample of matches. And the game they lost, they were probably quite unfortunate to do so, losing it late on against Sheffield United. So after being quite draw heavy in the first few months of the season, they've started to turn a lot more of those draws into wins recently. In 8th place, we've got Watford, who have climbed this table by 3 places from last time, now with promotion odds of 16-1, relegation odds of 40-1. And honestly, I really have to tip my hat to Tom Cleverley. I don't think that the Watford head coach role is necessarily a very easy one. I think it is quite daunting with the high turnover of managers that Watford have had in recent years, and thinking about all the problems that it looked like Watford had from the outside looking in pre-season, it didn't quite look like that squad was up to scratch, especially when compared to some of the squads they've had in the Championship in previous years. But despite a few bumps along the road for Watford this season, he's got them in playoff contention right now. They're performing at a level which is so much higher than I thought they'd be personally before a ball had been kicked, and considering this is his first managerial role, I think Tom Cleverley deserves a lot of plaudits right now. Coming in 7th place and being just shy of the top 6 according to the bookies, it will be Millwall, who have been the biggest climbers of this overall table. They've moved up 9 places in the bookies' end of season predictions from the last international break, now with promotion odds of 14-1. And I mean, not to toot my own horn or anything like that, when we did that Are Millwall Dark Horses video, they've been on an absolute roll since then. Between the last international break and this international break now, no team in the Championship have picked up more points than Millwall have. They picked up 14 points from their last 6 matches and have only conceded 2 goals in that time, and they've had some really tough fixtures in that run as well. So, like we were mentioning with Millwall a few weeks ago on the channel, their underlying data in their opening few matches had been really positive, and it was a suggestion that maybe later on in the season this sort of run would be possible. It's been the case recently. They've been winning a lot of tight games by a 1-goal margin, but hey, long may it continue. Coming in 6th place, the bookies have West Brom. That's not a change whatsoever from the last international break. They've got promotion odds of 4-1, relegation odds of 250-1. Now, it has been a bit of a rocky patch of form that the bookies have endured of late. Prior to that game against Hull City at the weekend, they were without a win in their last 8 Championship matches. They did return to winning ways over the weekend, though, beating Hull, and I mean, in the nick of time, really. I do think it does speak volumes about maybe a lack of quality in that top half of the Championship right now, whereby a side like West Brom can afford to go 8 games without a win and they've still got a place in the top 6. Alright, they've not lost a lot of matches recently, obviously they have been very draw heavy, but goals haven't been in plentiful supply for the Baggies of late. Between the last international break and this one, they've actually only scored 4 goals in their last 6 matches, but because they've been keeping things so tight at the back, you always fancy them to be there or thereabouts, and especially with Corberan in that dugout, if they do get a bit more investment in January, you'd fancy them to be about that playoff picture for sure. Coming in 5th place, the Bookies have Burnley. They've also stayed in the exact same position compared to the last international break. They've got promotion odds of 9-4 right now, and when I last looked, Sky Bet weren't even offering relegation odds on Burnley. Now, to be honest, not a lot has changed since the last international break with Scott Parker. A lot of the problems we were talking about during October in terms of a lack of chance creation, a lack of cutting edge in the final third, I think is still applicable to this Burnley side. They got over the line with a win over the weekend against Swansea, thanks to a late Jay Rodriguez penalty. Goals from open play, especially at Turf Moor, have really been few and far between so far this season, but when you look at the opposite end of the pitch, they've just been so strong at the back. They've only conceded 6 goals in 15 matches this season, which is absolutely unbelievable, and when you do have that amount of control in matches, you limit the opposition to so few chances, you're always going to be up and around there. I just question whether they have enough goals in them to get into the top 2 this season. I think that's what most of the Burnley fans are questioning as well. Coming in 4th place, according to the bookies, it will be Middlesbrough. Now, this is a fall of 2 places from the last international break. In October, Middlesbrough were actually the 2nd most fancied side for promotion, according to the bookies odds. They have fallen a little bit since that point. They've now got promotion odds of 5-4. Borough have just been such an erratic side throughout this season, whereby week to week, you don't quite know what you're going to get from them, but like we were saying during the last international break, they top so many of the underlying metrics this season, Middlesbrough, when it comes to chance creation, getting into good positions, playing through the thirds and things like that, and at times when it all comes together, they can be absolutely scintillating. I mean, that was the case over the weekend when they absolutely put Luton Town to the sword, but whether or not they can produce those sorts of performances and results on a regular basis, I think probably will be the factor between whether they're in playoff contention this season or automatic promotion contention. Now, while Sunderland may top the table in real life, they aren't the most fancied side for promotion according to the bookies, because according to the bookies' latest promotion odds, Sunderland are the 3rd favourites to be promoted come the end of the campaign, currently with promotion odds of 6-5. That's not a change whatsoever from their position in this bookies table from October. The Black Cats have obviously been one of the best defensive units in the Championship so far this season. I do think there will be a little bit of frustration with some of their recent results while they are on a fantastic unbeaten run right now. You know, they've only lost 2 of their 15 matches so far this season. They have squandered maybe a few opportunities to just give themselves a bit more of a buffer coming into this international break with 3 consecutive draws in the league. That one over the weekend was obviously a bit of a painful one, having been 2 goals up against Coventry and in such a good position in that game. I do think that with the top end of the Championship not looking as strong perhaps as it was last season when you had Leicester, who went absolutely mental in picking up points at the start of the season, Ipswich, who were really strong, Leeds, who were arguably a bit stronger last season, and Southampton as well. There's a fantastic opportunity here for Sunderland to capitalise on that, because at both ends of the pitch they have been one of the best sides in the Championship so far this season and justifiably sit top going into this international break. In 2nd place, according to the bookies, it will be Sheffield United come the end of the season, and I mean, based on the points they've accumulated so far this season, they have technically been the best team in the Championship. Had it not been for that 2-point deduction, the Blades would be sat top coming into this international break. They've had an absolutely tremendous defensive record so far. They've only conceded 7 goals in their 15 matches. Only Burnley can boast a better defensive record than that. Big win over the weekend as well in the Steel City derby. If I had to predict the top 2 right now, I would have Sheffield United in there. But still holding on to their spot at the top of the bookies predicted table, it is Leeds United. That's not a change whatsoever from the start of the season. I think since the kickoff of this campaign, Leeds have been the most tipped side by the bookies for automatic promotion, and these odds aren't shifting. They're 1-6 to be promoted right now, so the clear favourites. While they do sit third in the league in real life, I do think that Leeds will be in this automatic promotion race for the duration of the season. I think they've got the squad to do it, a manager who, despite his, flaws that some people may bring up, he's picked up more than 90 points on multiple occasions in the Championship. I fancy Leeds to do that again this season. I wouldn't say performances have been scintillating from Leeds United of late, particularly on the road, but they're continuing to churn out results even with a few key players out injured. And I do think, as was the case at one point of last season when they just went on that extended winning and unbeaten run, I think this squad has got that in them again. Well guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do you agree with the bookies' end of season predictions? Let me know in the comments down below. But other than that, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.